Hey, true crime fanatics, this is Claire.
And I'm Andy.
You're tuned in to the Homicide Hobbies podcast, which is a podcast for people who love to hear about the horrendous crimes that people commit. Enjoy. Were you ready?
Yeah.
Well, where are we today?
Today we'll be in a place known for being home to the pork pie.
Kansas.
This city is also known for coining the phrase, painting the town red, after some drunken fellers quite literally ran around the town painting it red in 1837.
Louisiana.
A local professor from the city named Alec Jeffries is the fellow responsible for discovering DNA fingerprinting, also known as DNA profiling, in 1984.
Nevada.
Today we'll be in Leicester, England.
Oh, you're an asshole.
I did think it was crazy that DNA profiling didn't become a thing until 84.
We knew that.
I know, but
it's still crazy to think it's not that long ago.
Yeah.
But it was the 1900s, as your children like to point out.
Yeah. I love my children. I remind myself that every time they're like, you were born in the 1900s? Okay, you don't have to be a dick about it. Anyway, the DNA professor, by the way, his name was Alec Jeffries, and he's actually known as Sir Alec Jeffries, but I figured if I called him Sir Alec, you would have guessed England, so I dropped the Sir for that purpose.
I'm sure he appreciates you dropping that.
All right. On May 6th, 2024, so this is a very current case, 50-year-old Raj Sidpara and his happy-go-lucky, bubbly girlfriend, 44-year-old Tarnjeet Riaz. She went by the nickname Taz, and that's what we're going to call her. But
because he can't say her name. Or did she actually go by it because no one else could either?
That's not nice, but she went by Taz, and I know she went by Taz because well, we'll get to it. But anyway, we're going to call her Taz because that's what she went by. But Taz and Raj were out at a bar drinking with some friends. Raj and Taz had been together for roughly 5 months-ish. They did not live together, but Taz was a frequent overnight guest at Raj's small one-level home.
Do they live it? Obviously they're in England, but are they from England?
I don't know if they're from India or if their parents are, but...
Or what generation came from India.
Right.
Got it.
But Raj and Taz, they were drinking beers and doing shots when Taz became pretty intoxicated and she was unable to stand up without assistance.
Not to be interrupty, but did you already say how old they are?
Yep. I said Raj is 50 and Taz is 44.
And they were out bar hopping?
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Anyway, when Taz was unable to stand up because she was so intoxicated, the couple decided perhaps they should step outside for some fresh air. And once outside of the bar, the couple began kind of bickering in the street before they decided, yeah, you know what, this night's done. It's time to head back home. The pair continued to argue in the car because Raj was upset with how drunk Taz was. Taz and Raj arrived back to Raj's place, and they also stopped off at a neighbor's house and had a few more drinks. Then they actually went inside Raj's house. And to me, I don't understand why if you're upset with how intoxicated your significant other is, you make another stop.
You know why? Because you're not drunk. You're applying sound mind to a stupid situation.
Pretty much. I also found it kind of alarming that he drove, but they successfully made it home. And their arguing apparently continued. Raj wasn't having any of that nonsense. And he was like, you know what? I'm going to bed. Taz was too upset to go to bed, and she stayed up. The next day, when Raj woke up, he realized that something was wrong with Taz. She was laying on the floor in the bedroom. He carries on with his day and realized, yeah, so Taz wasn't just napping, so he called 999 for help. He told the dispatcher Taz had gotten drunk the night before and must have fallen down. He feared the worst because Taz was unresponsive. The dispatcher told Raj, don't panic, paramedics are on their way, and in the meantime, let's try to help Taz. The dispatcher began trying to walk Raj through the steps of giving Taz CPR when Raj informs the dispatcher, Taz is cold to the touch and her jaw is stiffened shut.
Oh.
So, if you haven't put two and two together, Taz is dead.
Yeah, she's dead and she's been like that for a bit. This isn't she just fell off the bed and is now unconscious. She's been that way.
Right. And once the first responders arrived, they were horrified at the sight of Taz. It was obvious to them that this was not from a fall. Taz had been brutally beaten. The police became involved, obviously, because
she didn't fall down.
Well, and she's 44.
So is he not bloodied, or it's just he got up, did his day-to-day thing, and then was like, she's still on the floor thing?
Pretty much that version of things.
Would he not have been bloody?
Hang on. The police, they're doing their investigation, and they reach out to Taz's brother, and they need him to come identify this woman in question and, just make sure that it is, in fact, Taz.
Mm.
So the brother comes, and he was horrified at the sight of his sister because she was unrecognizable.
My God.
Police are doing their investigation into Taz's death and into Raj's supposed...
What kind of dumbass? Okay, so if her face is that fucked up, how does he figure she fell?
He's claiming she fell on her face.
Was she face down when he found her?
Well...
Or supposedly found her?
Supposedly, yes, and then flipped her over to supposedly give her CPR. The
brother's horrified.
Yeah, he didn't recognize her, and now, at this point, police are beginning their investigation into Taz's death and Raj's supposed story of the events that took place less than 24 hours prior to Taz dying. During their investigation, police learned that Raj had 24 previous convictions for 46 offenses. Many of them were driving offenses. However, he had many convictions for violence, threats to kill, and harassment of his previous girlfriends and people connected to them. And in 2022, he was convicted of assaulting a former partner who he headbutted and then threatened to throw gas on her house.
What the fuck?
Yeah.
Hold up. Who headbutts their significant other?
A sick son of a bitch, that's who.
Yeah, he's got some problems.
He does. The police learn that he's known for having a volatile temper when it comes to his significant others.
So he beat his last girlfriend, threatened her, moved on to another, and just whooped her ass to death.
Way to jump the gun, but yes.
It's not jumping the gun. You already said she's dead, and she was beaten, and then he's beaten several other girlfriends.
Yeah.
No wonder he's older and immature and in the bars, because he's probably been in the clink, so he hasn't learned anything. He gets out and trying to make up for lost time.
Pretty much. So once the police established a true timeline of events, they also took note of Raj's pattern of domestic violence, followed up by a report from the medical examiner, and Raj would be arrested for murdering Taz. During court, the jury heard about the actual events that took place on May 5th, 2024, along with the gruesome details of the way Raj brutally beat Taz that night. So the jury is about to hear all the things. Now for you, the truth, there was CCTV footage that the jury watched of Taz and Raj arriving around 8:45 p.m. to the bar.
I thought you were going to tell me that it shows him beating her. So I was gonna be like,
oh God. No, I don't have that. The couple seemed to be getting along great. Taz was seen wrapping her arms around Raj's neck in what appeared to be a loving embrace. They even posed together for photos. The couple were seen chatting and hugging on their friends. They were all drinking beers and doing shots. Raj and Taz were seen exiting the bar around 10:55 p.m. And in the CCTV footage, Taz was visibly drunk. When I say visibly drunk, you could see on the video that she was unsteady on her feet.
Stumbling.
To me, when it picks up on video that you're that drunk, you are drunk.
Yeah. Well, and it's crazy that they left their drink somewhere else.
Right? As much as it was visible that she was drunk, it was also quite obvious that Raj was annoyed with her. She was seen wobbling, and then she reached out to her boyfriend to help steady her on her feet. And instead of assisting her, he quickly jerks out of the way and then walks out of the building.
Well, drunk people are annoying.
Yeah.
But
I get that, but you're in a bar. You're the one ordering the drinks. You can't get mad when they have the effect that you know that alcohol is going to have.
Although, also the bartender is over-serving.
Yeah. It made me think of a time that Jason and I went out together and we met some guy and we were just chit-chatting with those people. And the guy kept ordering shots, but Jason doesn't do shots. So I was doing Jason's shots when nobody was looking.
So this was you in this scenario. You're wobbling all over the bar.
Oh, I was so drunk that night.
Now you have 2 husbands, sometimes 3.
I was so trashed. But that's where, the bartender thought they were serving shots to several people. And then I was sitting here doing all of them, and it was like,
But I feel like if somebody's ordering shots at the end of the bar and the lady down there who's going to have supposedly one looks like a weeble wobble, that like if somebody turned the fan on, she's on the floor, they shouldn't bring another.
Well, they eventually stopped. I think.
Yes, when you blacked out.
I was a particularly lightweight that night because Jason and I were going out for like a date night while we were on vacation. We were going to go have dinner, but because he ate dinner when the kids ate dinner.
Oh, you were empty stomaching it.
I was empty stomach, and by the time we got away and went out, we couldn't find a place that was still open. That was like serving food. They were only serving drinks or like snacks.
If you would have barfed that up, somebody would have gotten drunk off the smell.
Pretty much. But that's what made me think of her. Like, if they're doing all the same drinking, maybe she didn't have anything in her stomach. You know?
Maybe she was wearing heels.
Maybe.
She's like a newborn giraffe.
So then, okay, so he blew the smoke in her. Well, did I say that? No.
No, you did not. Because that's a dick move right there.
So he's seen dodging her and then exiting the building. She stumbles her way out, and now it switches over to the CCTV footage outside, and it shows Taz and Raj saying goodbye to their friends who are out in like a smoking section of the bar. The entire time the couple were outside, Taz was clutching the fence just to stay upright. As visible as it was that Taz was heavily intoxicated, Raj was noticeably annoyed with her, and he even took a drag off of his vape and then blew the smoke into her face.
He's an asshole.
He really is. And then the couple are seen walking to Raj's Audi. He opens the door for Taz, and then Raj is seen walking around to try to get into the vehicle, and he's struggling. So he is a little intoxicated because he couldn't even get into his own car. They're in the car for about 5 minutes, bickering, and then the car is seen driving off.
She probably couldn't get belted in.
I don't think he would have gave a shit if she was seatbelted in. I think he was probably telling her, don't barf in my car.
It could be that. But you ever gotten in a car with a passenger that's drunk and they get caught in the seatbelt and it's like a struggle? And it's like, what the hell are you doing? Just sit still.
Mm-hmm. They do arrive back to Raj's neighborhood. They did go kind of hang out with some of his neighbors. And then the pair are seen arguing around 1 a.m. on May 6th. They went home and they were still heard arguing from inside Raj's house. Whatever they were bickering over, I don't know what it was. Nobody knows what it was.
I feel like it could have been an easy argument of, and not to victim blame, but if he was upset she got that drunk, that could be an argument in itself. Because if you, like, you know how the scenario of, you ruined the night, we had to go home because look at you. It was embarrassing. You're falling down. You can't hold your booze, regardless of the fact that you didn't get the dinner that you were promised. And you've done this before. Why don't you just stop? You know when enough's enough, that level of, like, argument.
So I wasn't going to bring it up because in the court stuff, it was never brought up, like an actual reason. But I read in several different spots that he was upset because she hugged one of their guy friends and he was jealous.
Are we sure she didn't fall and he caught her?
I have no idea. Well, I do have an idea. She didn't. She was seen hugging their friends, and apparently, and the way I took it,
at least she's a lovey-dovey drunk rather than a murderer.
Well, and the way I took it was, if the friends they were hanging out with were more his friends than her friends, she might have, because it was a fairly new relationship, been trying to be friendly because they're his friends, and you really want your significant other's friends to like you. You know what I mean? So maybe she was just overly chatty and Raj was insecure.
No. I don't think I've hugged any of Dave's friends.
That's different. Have you ever been shit-faced drunk? Like you said, maybe she's a happy huggy drunk.
I don't think the way to my significant other's heart is through hugging their friends. I like to think the drunk me would also be like, yeah, that's a good idea. Don't do that.
To be fair, you're also not a huggy person to begin with.
That's valid.
So if she was a huggy person sober, you know how it is for drunk people. It just heightens the way they already are.
I could see that if they're a huggy person, not drunk.
Right. Well, then the jury's told that the next morning, or later that morning, which is May 6, 2024, when Raj called for paramedics claiming Taz had apparently fallen while she was drunk.
Like a basketball. How many times did her face hit the floor?
Oh, we're getting there. The paramedics, when they arrived to the home, what they found was Taz deceased on the bedroom floor. She had 2 very large black eyes. She suffered extensive bruising to her face, her head, her chest, and then the coroner was just like, you know what? She had extensive bruising to her entire body. She had a total of 64 injuries to just her face, neck, and chest. She had 20 fractured ribs. Raj had not only punched and kicked Taz, but he also stomped on her face and head repeatedly. She had several brain bleeds. Her mouth was not just like she got smacked in the mouth and had a split lip, but her lips were literally torn from her mouth, dangling from her jaw.
Oh my God. Oh my God. Her brother had to see that.
Her brother was told that she had fallen, and then that's what he went and saw. She didn't look like her. She was repeatedly kicked like her head was a soccer ball. And then she was stomped on repeatedly. This guy is so disgusting. To make it worse, yeah, while Taz laid on the bedroom floor dying, Raj took off his bloodied shoes and crawled into bed and went to sleep, leaving Taz dying alone on the bedroom floor.
I'm not really surprised because he has a pattern
Mm-hmm.
of he's done this to other people, so who knows what his other girlfriends endured, and he just went to bed.
It's sad.
He's disgusting.
It really is. And the jury heard that Taz's cause of death came from a combination of injuries to her head and to her chest. Also, Raj had waited to call for medical assistance for Taz until the afternoon of that day. So it wasn't even like
He
he
woke
woke
up,
up and was like, oh shit.
sobered up, and was like, oh my God.
Yeah, he instead waited till afternoon.
Is it possible he, again, since none of his other girlfriends, I assume, unless you tell me, have died, that he had just assumed that she was trashed and he knew he beat her up, so she was gonna sleep real late?
But at the same time, there's literally no remorse because he didn't even try to tend to her.
Well, he's a piece of shit. He's beaten several other people without giving a shit and changed anything. So, like, I feel like he got out of bed and hardly looked at her. And then the fact that she was on the floor, he also didn't fucking care she was on the floor and just walked out rather than really looking at her much because he was treating her like a piece of trash.
Yeah. Well, Raj attempted to plead guilty to manslaughter in October 2024, but denied murdering Taz. His whole thing was he intended to only cause Taz minor injuries, not to cause her serious bodily harm or kill her.
He's disgusting. I just wanted to hurt her a little. I didn't try to kill her. I just wanted to stomp her a bit.
But you stomped on her and kicked her in the head and face. What did you think was going to happen?
You didn't think she was gonna die.
But that's still great bodily harm. And he's like, no, I only meant to slightly injure her.
He's like, well, my other girlfriends, it was only mild injuries. I stomped them too. That's the worst defense I think I could. Like, ugh.
Yeah. And the judge and jury thankfully did not buy into Raj's excuses either.
Off with his head.
Judge Harbage told Raj, you punched, kicked, and stamped on her in a sustained attack. Your conspicuous lack of remorse at any stage was quite remarkable. You have steadfastly refused to explain what you did or why. And Raj's defense tried to claim that he couldn't remember what happened. And they said that he was alcohol dependent and had blacked out due to excessive drinking, which proved to be the gateway to this level of violence.
So he woke up the next day.
Right.
And still did nothing. Now, mind you, I think she was probably dead when he woke up, but...
Oh, for sure. But the judge told the court, I accept on balance his intention was to cause really serious harm and not to kill her, and there is lack of premeditation. He clearly has a number of difficulties, but I'm not satisfied they lessened his degree of culpability or responsibility. The evidence does not suggest he was blind drunk. The evidence in the trial was that he was capable of driving home.
Mm-hmm.
And then the judge directly addressed Raj, saying, Taz, and that's why I say she went by Taz, because even the judge references her as Taz. Taz was visibly intoxicated and unsteady on her feet. It's clear from the evidence
she wouldn't have been able to defend herself.
Right. Not least you blowing smoke from your vape into her face, that you were irritated by her drunkenness. She must have suffered real physical pain before she died, and she died at the hands of her partner,
I'm
someone
gonna
who should
hope
have been
she.
able to trust. Someone she should have
I'm
been
gonna
able to
hope
trust.
that she was so drunk
She
that
blacked out.
right that even if she would have lived, that she wouldn't have remembered any of it because she was so drunk.
Same. Because it's just, that was so much.
Brutality.
Yeah. Taz's brother was really distraught and was like, all she ever wanted was somebody to love her.
Dude, even if that wasn't the case, that like he had to see that.
Yeah.
I can't even imagine what her poor face looked like, and the fact that other than silver lining there, and I know how you like all my silver linings, but that didn't look like his sister. So other than the horror of he just saw something absolutely awful, I feel like for me it'd be a case of I'm going to tell myself that's not the person it's supposed to be because my head cannot connect that.
Yeah. Trouble connecting those dots.
Yeah.
Well, on November 22nd of 2024, Raj was found guilty of murder, and on November 29th, he was sentenced to life plus 10 years. But we all know without the magic words that were not spoken, and those words being without parole, Raj would be up for parole after serving a minimum of 21 years and 162 days.
But he'll be in his 70s.
Yeah.
And like I like to point out, I hope that since prison life, I would like to think is a hard life, and he'll take many dicks to the face, his 70s will be like his 90s, so he won't be beating anybody in his 70s.
They'll be beating up his ass.
Mm-hmm. He's going to be walking with a hunch because he's going to be bent over so much in prison.
I hope they fuck his face so hard that they tear his frenulum off of his lip.
You really like that. You're real sick.
Says the girl that wants to have a caution cone freely go in and out of a feller's ass.
Well, you just really want to tear somebody's frenulum.
Only pieces of shit like this.
And anybody else who doesn't know, it's that skin that attaches your lip to your mouth face thing.
I can hear that you're talking with your lips snarled.
Well, I was pointing to it like you could see it.
Uh,
That was really fucked up. And in case anybody didn't learn the lesson from today, don't excessively drink. And also, what?
I think this is more of a domestic violence. If somebody's not treating you right, leave.
Well, I was going to say don't excessively drink and drive.
And yeah, that too.
But excessively drink is not a thing. Also, people who like to smack people around, I don't care how much love they say they have for you when they're sober, they're pieces of shit.
If they did it once, they'll do it again.
Mm-hmm. And if they've done it 36 times, they're going to do it again.
46.
Oh, my mistake.
I did struggle because this is a England case, and the way they have their
What?
criminal history, it is a lot more difficult to find. And because it is a very recent case, that's all.
I thought you were going the route of because it's England and they do that over there.
I was not.
You struggle because it's England?
No, I struggled to find his history because I was really curious if he had that many convictions. How much jail time has he done? If any.
So I'm going to assume it's similar to the US in the sense that maybe some of the girlfriends, like the time it takes to go to court, that maybe they don't show up and they do a more lenient sentence because they don't have a victim.
Yeah, but you would think because it was on several girlfriends that it would become like even if they didn't show up, it's obvious he's got some sort of, I was curious, like what all.
Maybe they did. Maybe he had to go to like 2 weeks of I don't know, either alcohol things, or because if they can pawn it off onto I was drunk, yeah, I have a problem, I get it. Like, you know how the number of times people can go to rehab and get a deferred sentence if they complete that nonsense, and then but they can do that like 16 times and they're still thinking it's working because they're willing to go.
Right.
That level of if he it's outside a bar or he can prove that he was drunk. And again, the whole if the victim doesn't show up.
Well, I was curious, but I just found it frustrating because I couldn't access any of those records. So
I'd like to think that no matter how drunk I am, well, or not that I am, but no matter how drunk I would ever be, I would not stomp Dave's face in.
Well, it'd be more Dave stomping.
So I feel like no matter how drunk I got, I would not stomp anyone. Dave, anyone. I wouldn't stomp your face hole in. I wouldn't stop in one of my friends' face holes in. I don't see me doing that at all.
I agree. Well,
what?
I don't know. I feel like if I saw somebody like assaulting one of my kids or hurting
Andrea,
a kid,
shut up. You do this way too often. That's not the situation this is. This isn't you're going to somebody's rescue. You can't twist and turn it. That's not the situation. You're not a hero curb stomping somebody. That's not the exception. And you're not a drunken hero battling. You have a Robin Hood complex.
No, I'm just saying that would be the only time I think I'd ever be able to justify stomping someone is if it was in a life-saving type situation. Otherwise, I too would not be able to face stomp anybody.
Man, fuck off. That's not the situation.
I know. I said I agree. I wouldn't be able to do it to my significant other or anybody else unless I saw them doing something they shouldn't be.
That's not the situation. Criminally.
Hi.
Well, thanks for that.
You're welcome.
Thank you for listening to Homicide Hobbies. I'm Claire.
I'm Andy.
Follow us each week to get your fix of the atrocities that occur in true crime. And don't forget to tell people about us and rate us if you like us. But don't rate us if you didn't. Just change the channel.